Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another preview Q&A show here on All for United. I am your host, Temi, aka Temi Talks United, and I have a great crew with me here today. I have Mark, I have John, I have Callum with me, and we are going to be previewing the Manchester Derby. What an absolute major game. What a major game. What a major game. Looking forward to it. Everyone who's watching with us, make sure to go to youtube.com/All for United. Again, youtube.com/All for United. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If we get to 25 likes on this stream, I'm going to ask a question at the end of the show. The first 5 people to answer correctly get a chance to win some merchandise from Football Town Apparel. Really excited about that. So make sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button for a chance to win some great merchandise from Football Town Apparel. It has been a very weird, I want to say, week and a half as Manchester United fans. 3 straight 0-0s, underwhelming performances, if we're being blunt and we're being honest. And now we are looking ahead to arguably the most difficult match of the season so far. City, unfortunately, are absolutely flying. What is it, 21 games on the bounce or something like that? Unbelievable right now. It's going to be hard. It's going to be very, very difficult. We've already played them this season. Drew 0-0. I think we faced them twice this season, haven't we? Am I wrong? We lost in the cup. We lost in the cup as well. So we already know the challenges that Pep is gonna pose. They've improved their defense. They've missed big players like De Bruyne, Aguero, and it seems like it hasn't fazed them one little bit. So it's not going to be an easy challenge. But that being said, I will give it to Ali when he's going through some pretty poor runs of form. He's found a way to get big results in the past. So maybe we can nick a draw in this or nick a win. I'm going to go around the horn and, really quickly talk to the gang about what we've seen over the past couple of, the past week or so, specifically the Crystal Palace performance, which I thought was abysmal. I'm going to start with you, Mark. What did you really, really briefly, what did you think about that Crystal Palace performance, and how do you think it's going to affect us going into the Man City game?
It was very poor, wasn't it? And I think ever since we lost to Sheffield United, I think that has had a negative impact on us going forward, and we haven't been able to pick up any positivity whatsoever. And last night was an epitome of creativity, really. I've said many times, and I think you've already heard me say that I think we missed Pogba a huge amount. And Bruno's just not on song. And I think, when you've got both of them either not playing or not playing up to their best, it's really had a huge detrimental effect on our creativity. And that was the biggest problem, really. I mean, if there is any silver lining, we haven't conceded either. And that's obviously a positive. And that was one of our biggest worries throughout the beginning of the season, at least. But now we're struggling to score. And if you're struggling to score and you're going to also have a team of Manchester City's stature coming at you, it's going to be a very nervy time. And we're probably coming up against them at the worst time possible. And it's a real shame. I don't feel particularly confident at all, but you never know. With Man United, we could go into it and maybe get a result. We'll see.
Yeah, no. I hope you're right about that. I'm gonna be completely honest. I watched United Daily earlier with Ben, Neil, and Barry, aka Doc United, and it was really fascinating to see their perspectives on the Crystal Palace game specifically, and how poor it was just across the pitch. And I mean, I'm gonna go to John with this. I feel like I'm gonna pose this question. Stick with me. I think tactically there was just something missing. Yes, we can blame the players for not being up to it, but I firmly believe when 7, 8 players are off the pace, there has to be some sort of culpability on the manager. What do you think that Ali needs to change going into this Man City game versus, what we did at Palace? Is it a formation change? Is it, a personnel change? Obviously, there's injuries in the side. I don't know if Pogba's fit to play against Manchester City. A lot of people were talking about him coming back for that game.
To be.
I hope he is. But what do you think needs to change going forward, John?
I'm not sure, actually, if I agree that it is a tactical thing. I think partly it's a bit of a desire thing. I think it's not a huge amount. I mean, obviously, desire is that thing that all fans get, really, be in their bonnet about and get very excited about one way or another. But without players too much of an excuse, I think that since the Everton result about a month ago when we dropped, those 2 points, I think from that moment onwards, our championship challenge kind of ended. And I think it was then a case of, right, can we get enough for top 4? We've seen other results with Leicester sort of dropping points left, right, and centre, and I think it's simply the desire that we saw in games against Wolves with the last minute desperate tackles from Bailly when we were in the championship chase, which I think probably were to Everton. And I think what we've seen since then is, I just think we're not as desperate as we were. When you're desperately clinging on to a lead, or you're desperately trying to get that last minute winner, I do think it helps. And I just think that what we've seen in the last sort of 4 weeks has been a drop off. I mean, even as a fan, I'm going into games excited. I want us to win. But have I got that anxiety that, although many might think is a detriment to our performances, I actually think sometimes you do need a few butterflies. You do need a bit of anxiety. You do need a bit of desperation when you're trying to get a result desperately. And I just think we're missing that at the moment.
That's an interesting way of looking at it, and I agree to an extent. I've always personally thought Ollie's biggest calling card was the players were playing for him. I still believe they are. I think that was always his main, strong, like his strongest asset is that, all of the players, the world-class players, the average players, the young players, they're all kind of looking up to him and playing for him. But John, you're mentioning desire. And I do agree to an extent. Maybe we've been burnt out. There's different ways of looking at that. But again, I would say that, this has been a consistent thing over 2 years of us struggling to break down teams. I don't think I don't think Crystal Palace is an individual moment, if that makes sense, or Sheffield United, like Mark mentioned, is an individual moment. I think that if we look at Ollie's tenure as a whole, we've seen that he struggles in games like AKA Crystal Palace, a Brighton, even though we won that.
Can I interject, Temi?
Go ahead.
I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure if I entirely agree with that. And let me explain a second. So we did struggle last season to break down teams that sit back, but we've picked up the majority of our points. Up until the Sheffield United game, we picked up the majority of our points against the lesser teams and against the low block. Now, that was when Pogba and Bruno were playing together. Now, if I look at it pragmatically, I have to say it's got to be down to fitness and fatigue. Now, you look at every other club within the Premier League at the moment, they're all dropping points. That nobody knows who's going to get 3, who's going to draw, and who's going to lose. You can't really categorically say, right, this team's going to win this game, and everyone's dropping points. Now, the only team that aren't dropping points that seem to be having a good run of form is Manchester City. Now, why is that? It's because they have had the riches in order to have 2 players for every position. So if Kevin De Bruyne is out, they've got Phil Foden, they've got Gundogan, yeah? If Aguero's out, they've got Jesus, they've got a number of other players that can interchange. Now, that makes it very easy for Manchester City. They are able to cope. They've got an incredible physio team. and they use those injections, those very expensive injections that are able to get players up to fitness very quickly. Okay, now that seems completely bizarre, but that does happen, and because of that, they are able to cope with these moments. They are able to fill every position with quality players, and have two players. I do not blame the management last night. I think Ollie, and he's proven time and time again that he does have tactics. He is able to set up correctly, and I wouldn't have necessarily have gone with Matic and Fred in the middle. I think that's our worst pairing. I think they're too similar. They're too slow. They're too pragmatic and don't carry the ball forward, and that maybe is something you can blame him on. But I honestly believe that this is a season that you're never ever going to see again. It's very tiring for everybody. There's only so much a body can physically do, and if they are playing 2 games a week, and going through training under these conditions, no wonder they're burnt out. I do not blame them.
So I want to get Callum involved, and I take all those points completely. I see all those points you're making. Just to follow up, because I was getting to a point there that, yes, to your point, this season, anyone Mark, you've been on tons of shows with me. You can go back and look. I gave Ollie tons of credit for grinding out those wins that he wasn't able to, last season, if that makes sense, like the likes of a West Brom 1-0 earlier in the season. We're down 2-0 against Southampton. We won that game. There's West Ham, those type of games we weren't winning last season. And then when we got to that title, quote unquote, title challenge, it kind of dissipated and faded. But this season, now we're struggling. Last season where we took a lot of points from the big six. This season, we're struggling tremendously to do so. I'm going to go to Callum and talk about that. We've seen a lot of, I think, what is that, 6 0-0 draws in the league this year? I could be wrong about that. Somebody help me check. But I think it's 6 0-0 draws in the league this season. Why is it that we're struggling so much to, last year was defend and counterattack. Now it seems like we don't have an idea against these big sides. Callum, why do you think we're struggling against the likes of Cities and Chelsea's, just to score?
Well, in terms of that, I think you can flip it on its other side and go, well, they're not scoring against us either.
100%.
Mark sort of hit the nail completely bang on the head, to be honest, and said everything I wanted to say. They're not scoring against us, but we're not exactly struggling against these teams. And there's obviously a reason these teams are setting up the same way against us, because they feel that we have an attacking threat that they have to nullify also. As Mark also said, you've got City, who have effectively got two starting 11s. Both of their 11s could effectively win the league. Now they've got Gundogan, Foden, Aguero, Jesus, Ferran Torres, Sterling. Most of them are bench players, so there's always someone to come back in and replace them. Now, McTominay probably didn't play over Matic last night because of his injuries, but you can also look at it. Fred and Matic aren't the worst pairing, I don't think. I think Matic's legs have probably gone, and Matic has never had that progressive forward play that we need. Now, you also can look at City and compare it, but Man United last night had James and McTominay and Ahmad to come on to affect the game. Now, we had 11 shots and 1 on target. That's nothing to do with tactics. That's just poor execution from the players. Fred misplacing a dozen passes. That's not tactics. That's just lack of concentration and lack of quality on the ball. So none of this is Ollie's tactics, Temi. I just think last night was just, to be quite frank, it was an absolute piss poor performance. And last night, to blame Ollie I think it's completely unfair. And we said on the preview for the Palace game, I remember me and Stu saying it was either going to be a battering or a game like that. Well, maybe not quite like that. Maybe in terms of a close 1-0, but that last night was so infuriating to watch in terms of quality of play, progressive forward passing, just chance creation. The forwards were starved. And this whole rigmarole of Rashford going crazy back at Maguire, that's being made into something of because there's no crowd, but I can guarantee that happens every single game as well.
It really does. Yeah.
It happens it happened at Sunday League when I played. It happens at every single level across football. And it's being made out to be something because we didn't play well. At the end of the day, Rashford was playing on the left wing and couldn't stay on side. It's my biggest pet hate in football, that. And he deserves to be screened at by Maguire. United didn't play well last night. It's as simple as that. It happens in football. And unfortunately, the whole talk of the title back in January, when we look back in hindsight, nobody thought we were going to win the league this year. The fact that we were even being talked about, the fact that and I get we're 14 points behind, and that sort of puts a bit of a downer on this progression that we've brought. But Ollie's got tactics. Ollie's brought so much more stability to the club, and he's progressed us further than any other the managers have. And we are second. And to be honest, the only worry I have is we do get dragged into a top 4 fight, which is what last night needs to be. We need to solidify that position of second and getting a win, especially when Leicester are slipping up. Unfortunately, United's mindset clearly wasn't there last night, and we need a reaction against it.
100%. Let's get in the comments real quick. Ugly Bear says Fred McTominay matches are simply not good enough, and the remaining deadwood at MUFC. Interesting take there. Yeah, I wouldn't say they're all deadwood there. I don't think it's solely down to Fred Woodward says I don't think it's solely down to physical, mental fatigue. We have a lot of holes in the squad in key areas, and some of the players lack the elite mental capabilities. Very fascinating. I see Stewart's in the comments saying evening. And listen, I am a little more. I lean towards the middle of this debate that we're having currently about the players. We're like who to blame? Is it the players? Is it Ali? I'm somewhere in the middle. You know what I'm saying? I try to be. I'm not one of these Ali out, Ali in people. I try my best to be as level-headed as possible. You know what I'm saying? It's just not. I don't see the productivity in having an out or in debate because we don't control it, right? There's no point in doing it. But to that point, I think there is a middle ground. You know what I'm saying? Like you mentioned, Callum, there was a extreme lack of quality in the Crystal Palace game, right? Especially with the likes of Fred, and I love Fred a lot, but he was so poor. I thought it was.
The thing is, this team hasn't changed. We've seen that quality. We've seen that attacking prowess. We've seen those goals. We've seen that clinical ability. It's not a different team. So it has to be fatigue. It has to be. It's not a different team. Sorry, Temi. I know what you're saying, man. I do agree.
I take those points. But I personally think we need what Ollie should do is use the squad more. You know what I'm saying? I think there's almost a fear of not using the squad. Versus Crystal Palace. Dan James can come on at halftime versus Crystal Palace. I mean, if you see the likes of Rashford are knackered, just that's the excuse now that okay, he's playing poorly, he's injured, right? That's normally the excuse when he gets hurt. Play Dan James. Play people who give the likes of maybe. I'm not saying I didn't really want to see the kids play, but if it's that bad, if it's that poor, and everyone is fatigued, like you're saying, Mark, play the kids. And so that's that point against Manchester. Like let's talk about Manchester City a little bit and the threat they're going to pose. I just mentioned Dan James. I would probably want to see him in that game. You know what I'm saying? Specifically, especially last season, Dan James against Man City was really, really good. I remember the first game that we won was a 2-1 at their place. Probably, in my opinion, the best performance we had all season, and just in terms of quality, how we handled it, how we handled their defensive, everything. And I think Dan James was a big part of that because he was an outlet. You know what I'm saying? For our midfield, for our defense. Who do you think should start in that front three, Mark? I'm going to go to you real quick, and I'll probably throw the question around to John and the rest of the team. Before you answer, though, everyone who is in the comments with us, make sure to drop some questions for the Q&A portion of this stream. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be doing Q&A at the end of the show. It's always a lot of fun. John's here for the first time. Callum, I've done it with Callum. It's been really fun. I've done it with Mark. It's been really fun. So everyone drop questions. Anything Manchester United related. I mean, anything. Transfers, fun, nostalgic questions, whatever it may be. You know what I'm saying? Drop those questions. Hit the like button for us. Hit the subscribe button for us. Back to the point, Mark. I want Dan James to play. Do you?
Yes, I do. I think you're absolutely right. I think probably another criticism, which we have spoken about before, and every fan has probably alluded to, is that Ollie maybe should have made changes sooner, possibly. I mean, in hindsight, who knows? But Dan James, yeah, I think, you know, he's obviously been in very good form. He had 5 in 9, and I think he probably should play. I think his best attributes come out when you are playing against an attacking team. Now, let's not, you know, beat around the bush. City are not going to sit back, and consequently, they are going to be coming at us, going to play a very high line, and that is the perfect opportunity for Dan James to be able to run those channels. And we're going to need to probably have Fred in the midfield as well in order to have that energy, in order to have a quick turnaround. Maybe not him entirely, and this is why Pogba would have been a perfect candidate for this. But I think Dan James, and to be honest with you, for the rest of the front three, I think it's going to be a very difficult decision, and I honestly couldn't tell you who that's going to be. I think Cavani the other night, he is our main number 9. He's probably our main man in the front three, and he's not fit enough. He's just come back, and I think you saw that last night. So I can't imagine. Well, he could start. Whether that's the right decision, I don't think we've got any other option. I think that's what happened last night. I think Cavani was thrown in there as number 9, wasn't fit enough because we had no other option. Martial's obviously injured, not in form. Rashford not in form. Who else do you play? Greenwood obviously he was pretty good for a few weeks, but wasn't particularly great last night. It could be anyone's guess, but I think Dan James is really the only certainty, if I'm honest.
Interesting. Let's get in the comments real quick before I go to our other panelists. No one thought MUFC were going to win the title. Yes, correct. But MUFC were there, and it was an opportunity, and I think an inquest as to why Ali let it slip needs to be questioned. Interesting. What we are seeing at the moment is opposition awareness of our forward play. I completely agree with this, Stu. Teams have reacted to our counterattacking football and filled the spaces we exploited in past matches. 100% agree with that. Whoa, that's a weird comment. Okay. Interesting Q&A. No matter how successful, how long Ali got, we'll touch on that at the end of the show. Everyone else, make sure to drop some questions as well. John, I'm going to ask you a question about the center backs. Last game we saw Bailly and Maguire play. A lot of people wanted Bailly to play, one, because they wanted to see a higher line, correct? We didn't see that. Like we didn't see a higher line yesterday. We saw in my viewpoint, I should say, I don't think we played any higher than we normally do. Personally, I thought we missed Victor Lindelof's passing. I think that's a very underrated quality of his. Mark knows how I feel about Victor Lindelof. I think he's desperately underrated. And I think yesterday specifically we missed his passing. But I think he's going to go back to Maguire and Lindelof. But I would want to see Bailly in a game like Manchester City where they're going to have the ball a lot and there's going to be a need, for athleticism in the box and defensive energy, for lack of a better term. What do you think he should do with that center back pairing? Does he stick with Bailly and Maguire, or does he go back to Maguire and Lindelof like I think he will?
Yeah, I think he will go back to Maguire and Lindelof, and I think that's the right decision. I saw Palace away midweek, Roy Hodgson style side, Benteke up front. I saw Bailly actually as kind of ideal for that match. Actually, I saw Bailly ideal option for that match. I also saw Lindelof coming back in for the Man City game because basically against Man City, I think it's going to be a different kind of game. I mean, you're dealing with sort of nimble strikers there, your nimble forwards in the shape of Sterling or Jesus or whoever they could choose or permeate across the front line. I also see ball retention being that much more important. Listen, last night Lindelof plays, we probably keep a clean sheet, we still don't win. Okay, but win against Man City. I see him going back to Lindelof and Maguire. As I said, keeping the ball is going to be so much more important against them. And I don't want to harp on too much about the fatigue thing that we've mentioned before. But if they are fatigued, if they are tired, on earth did we play those 11s that we played against Real Sociedad, especially in the second leg? Why did Bruno play 45? Why did Rashford also play 45 minutes?
100%.
I can only assume that the statistics that Ollie has available to him that we don't, these things that tell us who's in the red zone, who's not, are suggesting actually that they're not as fatigued as we think they are, okay? I completely see where Mark is coming from in seeing with his own, because he's seeing with his own eyes what I'm seeing, which is Bruno slightly off colour, Rashford slightly off colour. At times that, as I said, that effort and determination doesn't seem to be there. And we're logically you would think they are tired. But if they really are, then we should have played you know what? I would have quite happily seen us lose 5-0 in that second leg against Sociedad and get 2 more points against Palace or 2 more points against Chelsea in the last 2 games. Because really, without the fun element to the Europa League of a European, sojourn and a great night out in Gdansk, which none of us are going to probably have this season, then to be honest with you, the only other thing the Europa League offers is a route through to the Champions League, which hopefully we'll get through finishing second in the league anyway.
That's a very, very great point. And this is something I personally cannot stand when after we perform bad, we get reports that Marcus Rashford has a shoulder injury. He's been playing through a shoulder injury for so-and-so amount of time. Like, just don't play him. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has not been playing that well for him to, say like this isn't like a Ronaldo situation where like, he's giving us, obviously he's contributed tons of goals this season. I'm talking about 90-minute performances. Rashford has not been up to speed for quite a while. So, when I hear these things like you're mentioning, John, of, he's nursing an injury or Bruno is knackered. Why is Bruno coming on in this, or why is Bruno playing in that second leg? Why is Rashford coming on in the second leg versus something's not adding up there. It doesn't make much sense to me. Cal, I'm gonna go to you on that. Why do you think, Ollie kind of persists with certain players, especially when, there's talks of, he's knackered. This person's completely burnt out. This person's completely injured. Like, I know we don't have the squad that City does, right? But I think we have in my opinion, I think we have a good squad. I think we have a pretty robust squad. Obviously, we're missing some key players. We're missing Pogba, Van de Beek's not around right now. De Gea's not around right now. Martial, I think, has a little niggle. But I think surely we have enough to, play the likes of a James or somebody against Crystal Palace. Surely.
Yeah, I think it's probably a few reasons, to be honest. The Sociedad game was a funny one, to be honest. We probably could have played 11 of the reserves as long as we did. Like John said, I'd have happily lost 5-0 and got knocked out of that competition, to be completely honest. But I think it's probably a few reasons. I think one, it's probably lack of squad depth. Yeah, we do have an okay squad. I don't think we have a good squad. I think it's possibly lack of trust in other players from Ollie. I think he's still very aware that there's a few holes in the squad that he still wants to fill. And 3, I'd probably say the players are going to him saying, I do not want to rest. I know we talk about this thing about fatigue. It really bothers me sometimes because the professional athletes get paid a lot of money for what they do.
Yeah.
I can't go to work and tell my boss I'm tired today, so I can't really do it. It just makes the players and it makes management just sound really out of touch with reality. And I think it's a very easy excuse to use.
That's fair.
I get they can get tired, and I get it's a high-paced, tough physical game, but I just don't buy into this idea that professional footballers can't play a good game of football because they're fatigued. It doesn't. I can't buy into that idea, I'm afraid. Because
I see that point completely, and
I get the idea of it. I just don't. I don't understand how United can play that bad. The professional athletes, like being tired and being fatigued, like, to me, you're not looking after yourself enough. You cannot play that badly last night and go, oh, we were tired, or we were fatigued. No, you had an off day. It's if they were that tired, like John said, what are they playing in the Sociedad game for? That game meant nothing. Why did Bruno play? Why did Rashford play? I know they didn't play full 90s, but
Yeah.
surely there was someone else to come in. I get there's a lack of squad depth. I get that, but give someone the debut like they did at Astana last year. Like, give somebody a debut. Like,
Right.
I don't buy into the idea, to be honest.
No, let's get in the comments real quick. I take that point, and I completely respect it. Fred Weaver says Rashford has had a very poor season performance-wise. I would agree with this. If his goals and assists were marginally less, he'd be getting the same level of criticism as Martial. I completely agree with. Well, maybe not the same level, but I think he would get vastly more criticized. But when you put the ball in the back of the net, you can kind of. It's almost like a get out of jail free card sometimes when it comes to criticism. Honestly. Martial has been dire this season. They both regressed from last season. Martial has been he's definitely not been the same player, 100%.
I mean, they've both regressed from last season, as in Martial and Rashford.
Yeah,
because I don't think Rashford's regressed.
I don't.
I honestly, I think to that point on Rashford, has he regressed? No, I think he is. I think this is how I feel about Rashford. I'm just going to say it. I think his performances over a full 90 are normally not that great. I would say they're okay, and he has moments in games that just wow you. So he can get you a goal out of nothing more so than a Martial can, right? Martial kind of needs fluidity. He needs passing, movement, all these different things to kind of get him goals. Rashford can kind of create something out of absolutely nothing. Maybe to your point, it's his performances haven't dropped off, but I think the inconsistency, in my opinion, is still there. I think, he struggles to put in, a full performance, a very good performance, a very good 90 minutes consistently, if that makes sense to me. But let's talk about the midfield right now, specifically Bruno Fernandes. I think because he scored so many goals for us, he's been such a talisman for us since he's come into the club. And a lot of people are saying, he's out of form, like we mentioned. He's fatigued. That's kind of the Twitter excuse, this and this. I think he's just not scoring right now, and he's not, or not even. Let me not say he's not scoring. He's just off the pace because I think he's been running to the ground personally, playing games when he shouldn't be, not getting rest, not trusting Van de Beek to play at number 10. Mark, what do you think? And his record against the Big Six, people have talked about that a lot. He hasn't, lit it up again in these big matchups. What do you think we need to see from Bruno against Manchester City in this upcoming weekend?
Well, I think obviously he needs to turn up. He has had a difficult couple of months, but I think the whole team have had a difficult couple of months. And, I won't go into Rashford because we've just spoken about him, but he needs to turn up. He needs to show his brilliance. But I think that he's knackered at the moment, and he's playing every game. He shouldn't have played against Real Sociedad. And the thing is, with him and Rashford and Pogba, they're our three best players. It's as simple as that. And when you don't have the squad depth, which Callum rightly said, you have to play your best players. And unfortunately, because of the scheduling, they're going to get a run of games, 2 or 3, a week, whatever it is. And that's just the way it is. And but yeah, I mean, Bruno needs to. I think it's a real shame that we haven't got Pogba. I think we see the best from Bruno when Pogba's there, to be honest. And I just think he's just not on song at the moment. But he has up until recently provided us with goals and assists, even when he hasn't played well. Then, and again, does something from nothing like Rashford. And I think that's what I think that's what sort of differentiates him and Martial. And I think that, as I said, Rashford's our second, third best player, and he will come up with something. I don't think he's regressed at all. I think that when he's played poorly, the whole team's been bad. And I feel that, they all need to turn up with the right game. They need to have ideas. They need to hopefully have a bit of energy. And yeah, with 4 players off, I saw someone's comment earlier, we're still 3 or 4 players off. And until we get those players in, we're not going to have a complete team. So we're going to struggle.
I agree.
Interesting. Let's get in the comments real quick. Rashford bears too much responsibility, though. He wants to be Neymar or Ronaldinho, but he just isn't quite on that level. Interesting. I think Joe, one of the goats here says, I think Bruno doesn't get rested because he demands to play, and Ollie doesn't want to upset his talisman. I don't like that personally. I think Ollie needs to be a little braver if that's the case. I remember I just thinking about this. I remember an interview I was watching from Rio Ferdinand talking about how, when you're in the hotel and you get the knock on the door from Sir Alex, that, you're probably not going to play. And he said Sir Alex opened the door. He opened the door and he just started cussing at Sir Alex, just ripping into him. And and then, Sir Alex put it in his head that, listen, I don't need you for this game. I need you for this game. Be ready. Be mentally prepared for this game. Come in, be ready. You have to make bold decisions sometimes. You can't be worried about hurting feelings at this high level. You know what I'm saying? You just can't be worried about. You just can't be worried about. Bruno plays enough. You know what I'm saying? You need to look in it. Every player, if you're a competitive top level footballer, you want to play every game. I think Rashford wants to play every game. I think Cavani wants to play every game. Fred, all of them, they all want to play as much as they possibly can because they love what they do. But you have to have that bravery to kind of get out of somebody's own way sometimes and say, listen, you need to rest. We're gonna figure this out without you and move on. You know what I'm saying? So interesting point.
Can I just quickly add to that, Temi? Because I agree with you. But Bruno is arguably our best player, right? And by no means am I comparing him to these two. But do Messi and Ronaldo ever get rested? No, they don't. They never ever get rested. Like the 36 and 33 or whatever, they still don't get rested now. So this idea that he doesn't want to upset his talisman, I don't think it's that. I just think he's an important part of our team, and if he wants to play and Ollie believes that he's fit enough to play, then why would you rest him? Like the Sociedad game, I suppose you can go, well, he really should have been rested. But even then, Ronaldo would want to play that game because he'd want to add to his goals. I can guarantee that's probably what Bruno wanted to do. Obviously, it didn't happen for him, but he's arguably our best player. He wants to play every game.
I think Ollie does have a hold on things. I don't think that that's the case. From interviews that I've seen, articles that I've read, I think he's quite a cold man. And if you're not in his plans, he very much tells you. Now, unfortunately, you're absolutely spot on, Callum. He is our best player, and our best players should play every week. And you're right, Ronaldo and Messi have done it for 15 years, barely been injured, and have played every game that they've been there because they're the best player. Unfortunately, we do not have a player like Bruno. If Bruno's out, our whole team and creativity is shit. Van der Beek is a very different number 10. He's a pass and move number 10. Bruno Fernandes, what the team is based around basically, is a ball carrier number 10. Very different. So Van der Beek can't just step in. And I think you're absolutely spot on. I think that he is our best player. You play him every week. We talk about Pogba years ago. Oh, he needs to be our focal point. We need to get the players in to accommodate him and bring out the best in him. That's exactly what we're doing with Bruno now.
Yeah, sorry, just to respond. I don't want to make it just me and you, Mark. But I think with the pass and move sort of thing with Donny, that kind of thing is. Obviously, it is based around Bruno, and to do that, you could easily bring him Donny and bring him and maybe put him in a number 8 position where he does pass and move the ball forward. I think that's what we were completely lacking last night in terms of the game against Crystal Palace. We were watching Fred and Matic constantly do things that isn't their focal strong point. And I understand Donny's injured at the moment, but I was looking, he's played less minutes in the Premier League than Van Dijk this season. He's the kind of player who will get the ball moving forward and get the ball to the wide parts of the pitch to attack the other team. He's a kind of player that could open up defences who do sit in a low block, and it is frustrating to see when you've got the likes of Fred and Matic and McTominay. I love McTominay. I know Stu's in the comments and he won't like that, but arguably I think McTominay is a future United captain. Fred, on the other hand, I'd rather McTominay than Fred, and then Don next to McTominay. I think he's such an important. He could be such an important player for us, And it's so annoying that Ollie does want to stick with this double pivot of Fred and McTominay. And I do hope it changes, because something does need to change in terms of playing these low block teams.
Yeah, no, I personally don't believe Donny should be playing in that holding midfield role. Personally,
in the midfield. I mean,
yeah. So if you look at it, Ollie plays a 4-2-3-1, right? He's rarely deviated in his time since he's been a full-time manager, right? Yes, we could say he's going to be a number 8, right? Or he pushes up on a little forward. McTominay is not a 6, right? He's not a Matic where you can leave him by himself and he can pick out passes and get ball into feet to the forwards like a Matic would. That's just not what McTominay does. You know what I'm saying? If we had a number 6 that's a little younger, a little more spry, maybe then we could say, okay, Bruno come a little bit deeper, Don come a little bit deeper and play as 8s as opposed to having 110. But it's just not what we have in my opinion, that's not what we have as a squad right now to play a 4-3-3. Anyway, let's get in the comments real quick. We have some good questions, and we're going to get to the Q&A section very, very soon. McTominay is too limited for a top 6 club. I disagree with that. I think that he is for a top side, I think for a championship side, I think he's a very good squad player. I believe that with my whole heart. We do need Donny to play more. He has more quality on the ball than McTominay, Matic, and Fred. Yes, I mean he is naturally a 10. So I would expect him to have more quality on the ball than those 3 players that you mentioned. Let's see, TBH. I hate VDB in the pivot. It hurts us more than helps. Every time he plays there, we are far more vulnerable on the counter 1,000,000%. I think that's the big issue with that. We need to sign a 6 who can play alone in a single pivot or next to an 8. All these things, very fascinating comments, very interesting comments. What else is left there to say, man? These are some great comments, and we're gonna get to the question. I saw so many good Q&A questions. Oh yes, everyone, if you are asking a question, make sure to put Q&A next to your question in the comments so I can see it. You know what I'm saying? It makes life a lot easier so I can go through these and find your questions. How many likes are we on, by the way? Last time I checked, we're at 15. Let's make sure to get those likes up to 25 before the end of the show. So we're at 18. Okay, so 7 more likes, guys. 7 more likes for me to ask that question at the end of the show. Last time I was a dictator and didn't ask the question because we didn't get to 25. So I'm gonna double down on that and make sure we do it again. Interesting talking points we've had so far. I'm gonna go around the horn real quick so we can get to Q&A because it's normally it takes up a lot of time. I'm gonna go around the horn and ask for. I want honest score predictions here because as fans we can be very biased, we can be very heart over head. I want the most honest, cold-blooded predictions for this game. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to start with Mark. What do you think we're going to get out of this game?
My head says we'll lose 2-0. But I'm going to give you a heart answer as well. And I think we'll win 2-1.
Okay.
It's going to be very close. I don't think City are going to absolutely demolish us. I think they're going to be worried about the counter-attack. I do believe that. Pep's not a fool, and he's very much applauded Ollie for that before. And I think, we're very much capable of doing that. And as I said, we are better against a team that attack us, and we can then counter-attack. So I don't think it's going to be a riot, but I think City will probably win, yeah. 2-0, 2-1, 1-0.
I respect that. John, what say you?
Okay, I know you want honest, cold, detached answers to this question. It's difficult. Nothing. This is why we cannot get a score. Why? I think Man City have been a bit. Listen, Man City best team in the country, no doubt about that. They'll win the Premier League and they'll win it comfortably, and they deserve to do so. Okay, as much as that pains me to say, but I do think that they have been a bit lucky during this run. I also think we're closer to them than we were 3 years ago when we got that 3-2 win. Trafford, sort of towards the Mourinho's reign, I suppose. I see no reason why we can't get a draw there. I also think Man City really will be now thinking about the Champions League for the rest of the season, and so they should be. And I really do think we have the capabilities. We are set up to counterattack. We've got a good record at the Etihad, so I see no reason. By the way, Etihad even more so this season than others. I see no reason why we can't do it.
It's like home from them, isn't it?
In there, that Ollie may even throw a curved ball in there and play 3 at the back. So you heard it here first.
Interesting. Very interesting. Callum. So what's the final score prediction, John? Did we lose John?
Final score 1-1.
1-1. Okay.
1-1.
Respect. That's I much respect to you. I like that. Callum, what say you?
Well, usually I'm a pessimistic bastard, but I'm actually going to be optimistic this time. I think the way City play, they'll probably attack us a lot, and the way we're playing at the minute, I think this game might suit us. You know, if you can't get up for a Manchester derby, then you shouldn't really beat United. I think United might win 2-1. 2-1 United. But to be honest, I've not got high hopes, but let's pretend to be optimistic for a little bit, shall I?
No, I respect that. And to John, to your point of, you know, how City are playing, they haven't been blowing people out of the water. That's a very fair point to make. You know, I watched the game the weekend before this past weekend? I can't remember. You know, West Ham gave them a really good game. You know, I saw one. They've had a recent 1-0. Like it's not old City where they blow you away 5-0, 6-0. You know, it's not. It's a different type of team. They're much more. Pep is he's much more pragmatic. Honestly, like for lack of a better term, you know, he wants to you know, to dominate possession and will win 1-0, 2-0. That's kind of how it's been. So if I'm being blunt, I really think I can't see us getting results in this one personally, especially with the form and the confidence the boys are in. But like I said, this is kind of my way of hopefully jinxing us in the right way. Hopefully I'm wrong. So I'm going to predict a 1-0 loss. But normally, like I said to start the show, when we're in a bad run of form, remember last season when we were in we were in an absolutely terrible run of form, and then we got Spurs and City, and we won both of those games on the bounce, and it was kind of a huge deal, considering where we were. So, you know, I'm predicting a 1-0 loss, but I'm hoping this could be kind of a way to, you know, jinx us in the right way, if that makes sense. So we'll see what happens. But guys, that was the easy portion of the show. So now we get to the fun part. Obviously, we've broken down this game. We've talked about our players. We've talked about the manager. We've talked about tactics, whatever, this and that. Now we're going to talk about some fun stuff, you know, about the season, about, you know, all the questions that you guys have dropped in here. I'm going to go to the top real quick and see if I've missed any. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing some comments here. First question. Interesting one from Ugly Bear. No matter how successful, how long has Ollie got? Interesting question. I'll make sure we'll be quick. Let's try and keep it to 30 to 45 seconds for each question for all of us. I think he's going to get another year regardless of what happens. As long as we don't crash out of the top 4 and don't win a trophy, I think we're going to get top 4 this season. And I think if we get top 4 this season, he'll get another year no matter what. And then, you know, if we're in a place of next season where maybe we don't win another trophy, so it's 3 years no trophies, and you know it looks like we're not too much closer to City, then maybe he has potential. But I think the only thing that could see him not back for, you know, next season is if we just crash and burn on a top 4. I can't see anything different. Mark, what about you?
Okay, so he's made it very clear in the past that he is trying to rebuild the club, stabilize it, ready for the next manager, and I do believe that will happen in a few years. Unfortunately, I have to answer the question with regards to how successful he is, because if he is successful, he does win a trophy, he will get an extension. If he doesn't, and things don't landslide too much, then he will probably see out the remaining 18 months. So that's my answer.
Okay, interesting. Callum, what do you think?
Well, if he's successful, as long as he wants. If he's not successful, probably another year. Yes, to put it completely bluntly, probably that. To be honest, if he's successful, why would he not have long? If he's not successful, then there's it depends what if he doesn't win any trophies, then we'll probably have another season and a half. If he wins trophies, then until he stops winning trophies on a consistent basis, I guess.
Okay, interesting, John. What do you think about this?
I mean, I think it's the wrong question at the wrong time, if I'm honest. I don't think Ollie's future is really on the line right now. So yeah, if we were in 6th in the table and struggling to make the Champions League, or even in mid-table or out of all the cup competition, then I think this is a fair question. But I think right now that question could be applied in the way that we're kind of answering it. In a way, is well, how long has Jurgen Klopp got? Jurgen Klopp, if they don't make the Champions League this season and they don't make the Champions League next season and they don't win any trophies, well, in 15 months, probably Jurgen Klopp has even gone. The Premier League and the Champions Leagues. So in a sort of a calmer way, if you like, of answering that question, I would say until the end of next season. I don't see us not making the Champions League now just because other teams around us are stuttering. I still think we're on target to get about 75, 80 points, which would be an improvement on last season and the season before. So bearing in mind we'll make the Champions League again this season, bearing in mind we will have seen some progress, especially if we mention the FA Cup is what I would really like to see us
1,000%
go for. And I think it's there. We finish second, we win the FA Cup, I will be, not delighted, just compare where we were sort of weeks ago, but from where we are, that would be great. And that would certainly buy Ollie another 12 months. And to be honest with you, as long as we make the Champions League anyway, he's got until the end of next season. But 100%. Really, I just think it's not the right time and right place to be saying how long has Ollie got. If he's got 6 weeks, then fine. But
yeah, I completely agree. I think I'm not a big proponent of firing a manager mid-season. It just especially when you're looking ahead, right? Like we're still in a bunch of cup competitions, or 2, I should say, right? And we still are, second place. It just doesn't make any sense, right? It just makes no logical sense. But fascinating question still to me. And I think a lot of people are thinking that in the back of their mind, that's why I put that. And following up on that Q&A, who do you think will finish in the top 4? Now, this is a much bigger question. Obviously, this isn't Manchester United. This is league related, which I kind of like. So, John Kermode, appreciate the question. If I'm just let's be quick. If I'm going off the top of my head, obviously City. I think United will finish second. The Leicester situation is tricky because they are. If you want to talk about a team who's dealing with injuries, their injury list it's through the roof. So I don't know if they can stay in. I see Chelsea getting in. I can't lie. The way they're playing, they just beat Liverpool 1-0, and they're climbing, right. So I think Chelsea with the new manager bounce, I think they'll get in and be third. And I'm gonna go for I'm gonna do a wild one. I might say West Ham. I'm just gonna for that 4th position. I'm gonna be a little bit adventurous and say West Ham will shock us all and get a top 4 place. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, I think obviously City. I think we'll get top 4, probably second. I hope second, maybe third. But I think Leicester are a good team. I think their manager's very good. I know they've got injuries, but they're still getting results. I know they've had a bit of a hiccup, but everyone goes through, and we're going through one right now. I think they're a very well-run club. And I think that they will be there. And I think the final spot will be Liverpool. I know that they've had a really poor season, but they've, once they've get their Van Dijk back and they've got a very good first 11, I think that they'll probably scrape it. I don't think Chelsea, I think they're going through a very honeymoon period at the moment. I think they've got a lot to do and change over the next season. And whilst they might be playing good football, they've scored a couple of goals and beat Liverpool tonight, but as I said, they're awful at the moment. I can't see Chelsea getting top 4. I think Leicester and Liverpool, United, City.
Wow. Oh, that's an interesting take there. Very interesting. John, what do you think?
I think tonight's result with Chelsea winning at Anfield does well. I mean, if it was vulnerable before, Liverpool's chances are arguably hanging by a thread now in terms of form. I give a flying proverb. But just posit nightmare scenario for you, okay? Man City win the league. Man United make the top four, but we finish fourth. Liverpool finish fifth, sixth, or seventh, whatever, and they win the Champions League. If Liverpool win the Champions League and don't finish top four becomes top to Spurs when Chelsea won it in 2012, given the way the UEFA rules are. But listen, that would be just the worst. In a way, given whatever. But let's come back to your question. I think United will finish.
I'm losing you, John. John, we're losing you.
I think John has dial-up internet still.
He does, yeah.
And I think it's Leicester and Liverpool for go with Liverpool.
So, sorry, we were losing you there, John. Give us your four real quick. Okay, we're gonna go with Callum.
So I said Liverpool fourth.
We missed it again. Well. We missed it. We missed it again. Put it in the private chat now, and I'll say it out loud. Callum, what do you think?
So,
what do you think?
Okay.
Give me yours, Callum.
Yeah, I think John's definitely got dial-up internet still. I'll probably go with City, United, Leicester, and if Bale hits form, Son and Kane stay fit, I'll go Tottenham.
Wow. Okay.
Why not? No one else said it.
Wow. I was the only one with the hot take of West Ham in there. I just think real quick before we move on to the next question, I just think that the way Chelsea are playing, they're not going to lose too many games anymore. Tuchel has them extremely organized. I mean, I was watching the Liverpool-Chelsea game. Liverpool really didn't look like scoring ever. And I just can't see them, they're in fourth position right now. I can't see them really dropping too far off. Leicester, I think they have a strong chance as well. But that injury list really worries me. Anyway, let's move on to the next question. This is a funny one to me. Would you sell Fred this summer Jacob O.C. said, would you sell Fred this summer if we could recoup 15 to 25 million pounds for him?
We paid 52 for him.
Yeah. One. Let me just get something out of the way about Fred. I think Fred has been pretty average over the past month and a half or so. But I thought especially last year, I thought he was crucial for us. And earlier in this season as well. I thought he played really, really well. Is he a 50 million pound player? No, definitely not. But is he somebody who is a important part of our squad? Yes, I really believe that. I think he's an important player. I don't think you sell a player who's, I think Ollie loves him. He plays pretty much every game, that he can and when he's fit and available. So I would not sell him for 15. I think he's a little better than a 15 to 25 million pound player. But he's not a 52 million pound player that we signed him for. Mark, what do you think about that?
I think we're going to make a loss on him. I think you're right. Last year he was very crucial to our team, but I think he's been pretty poor all season. To be honest, I can't. I think I've spoken about him more negatively with his passing and a number of other flaws that he has more often than praising him. To be honest, and I've said this many times. We kind of alluded to it earlier. We need to get a defensive midfielder that can replace Matic, so we can play a 4-3-3 and we can play Van der Beek and Bruno, and possibly Pogba if he stays. Probably won't. So I think that if someone offered me, I think he's looking in the region probably of about 35 to 40. And I think if someone came in with that money, I'd snatch around off.
Fascinating. John, what do you think?
Okay, I'm going to repeat my top four if you can hear
yes.
me well.
And
then I'll come to that question. So I've gone first, Man United second. I'm going to go with Chelsea third, and I think Liverpool will just scrape that fourth spot at the expense of Leicester. As for Fred, I think, well, first of all, 15 to 25 million, forget it. As was highlighted, we paid 52 million for him, so we'd want to get a large portion of that back. I don't think that's going to happen just because of the climate at the moment with the virus, the rest of it, and the fact there's not a huge amount of money lying around. And to be honest with you, although I agree with some of the points that have been made about, Fred has been inconsistent at best or maybe poor at worst, I still think he would make a marvelous squad player. I would love to bring in that all-action, unbelievable holding midfielder, Owen Hargreaves, age 28, and with two knees working perfectly. That would be the holding midfielder that I would love to see us sign this summer, that we could then do the 4-3-3, as was mentioned. I would love that. And then Fred would be a Carling Cup player, or whatever the bloody cup competition is called these days, or an occasional substitute, etc., etc. That would be fine, albeit an expensive one.
Fair enough. Callum, what do you think?
No, I wouldn't sell him. I don't think at all, especially not for that. I think John said it perfectly then. I think he'd be a perfect squad player. We definitely need an upgrade on him. But I think if we were to look at selling any of the so-called double pivot players, I think Matic should probably be the one to go before anybody else. I definitely wouldn't sell Fred, no. And Jesus Christ, I won't sell him for 15 to 25 million. If someone did come in and offer what we paid for him, I think it'd be silly not to take it. But friggin' hell, not for that price, God no. I think he'd be a good squad player, but no, I wouldn't sell him for that, no.
Well, fair enough. Let's move on.
Just very quickly, I absolutely agree with you both. He is a good squad player. I would keep him. I think there are times when he has been brilliant. However, if we were offered more than 45, 50 million, I think that United would accept that. I honestly believe that.
Oh, yeah. I just don't think anyone's going to offer.
Just one more thing. I think we all pretty much agree on this. I think Fred stays. He's a decent squad player. But if some crazy club offers us 45 million, then yeah. But I just don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think Fred is a car that you take off the lot. It's just actually a lot of our signings are like that. If we're being honest, you take them, you sign them. Once you shine a new car, take it off the lot, depreciates in value immediately. We rarely, as of the past 10 years, sell players for profit. Very, very rare that we do that. Great question from Stu. Q&A, which player's autograph was the first that you got? So as you guys know, I'm from the States, right? So and another interesting fact about me, I'm obsessed with sports, not just football. I'm obsessed with basketball, American football, tennis. I just watch sports 24/7, right? But for someone who has watched sports as much as me, I have not been to that many sporting events. It's kind of sad. And I have not met that many athletes. So I do not have an autograph of any Manchester United player, unfortunately. Whenever I do get the chance to come to Old Trafford for the first time, hopefully I can, meet a player on accident. It just falls in my lap. We're going outside, the players are leaving, and I get that chance. But I do not have any players' autographs. I wish I did. I'm sure the guys will have much more interesting comments than I just did. Mark, what was the first autograph you got from a player?
I've got a fair few autographs lying about somewhere. But the very first one I had, Ryan Giggs came down to close to where I lived at the time. I must have been about 6 or 7. So this was 93, 94, 95. And he came to my supermarket around the corner and had to queue. It was actually the day before my birthday. And he wrote in my birthday card to wish me happy birthday, but we queued for hours. But that's my first autograph.
Wow, that's a much cooler response than I had. Times a billion. John, what about you?
I think my first and maybe only autograph of a United player was a guy called Danny Wallace. He was a diminutive winger that we signed for 1.2 million. Around about 1988, something like that, and he was in our cup-winning side of 1990. I was a ball boy, and I managed to grab him before the match started. Not as he was walking on the pitch. We were training before or warming up before, and I got his autograph. And he was a member of our cup-winning side of 1990. So I have no idea where that autograph is now, by the way. So I cannot show the evidence for it, but. yeah, that was my first, and I think my only ever United autograph. It's not something really I've ever really been a big thing on, but as a 9 or 10-year-old kid, it's a bit different.
Nah, fair enough. That's a great one too. You were a ball boy. That's pretty cool. Everyone has so many cooler stories. I mean, it's just not fair. Callum, what was your first autograph?
My first autograph was on the back of a programme after a match day. I got Edwin van der Sar. He was the first one to come out. And then I think John O'Shea came out after that. A while later, I got a little football signed that my friend's dog ripped to shreds. So that was horrible. But yeah, and I had a pint with a guy called Denny Old Graham, who used to play for United back in the 80s or 90s. He very, very few games, but he was still a United player. So that's my claim to fame. But yeah, Van der Sar was my first, which is quite a fancy one.
Wow.
If you got Van der Sar, if you got Van der Sar and O'Shea, that's 2 goalkeepers. That's nice.
Yeah, it's all right, isn't it?
Yes.
If anyone remembers that O'Shea appearance in goal against Spurs, that was just a legendary moment in 2007. And I think he made a half decent save as he ran out.
It's a shame Rio didn't come out as well.
I know. Everyone, we're 1 like away from 25. So one of you hit that like button. My guy Bits and Bops is in the comments. I just saw that. Appreciate you, bro. Hit that like button for us. We appreciate it. We're coming up on time, so I can't answer we're getting tons of questions. I can't answer every single one, unfortunately. This is what we wanted. This is what we wanted to do. Bring fan interaction, get you guys involved, get you guys on the show as much as possible and get your opinions out here. Let me find one last question from Fred Woodward, a consistent on this show. Q&A, if we do get top 4, will the Glazers continue with their recent policy not to spend or back the manager in the summer window? I'll try and be brief on this one because we're already coming up on time, but wow, what a question. I mean, yeah, I think they're already preparing us for that. Ali came out, this past week, and let us know that, hey, times are hard. A lot of clubs won't be spending, that was the overall gist of it. Fans were frustrated. I was more frustrated at the wording of it, more so than I know the reality of this club. I know how the Glazers operate. But I would probably say, yeah, I can't imagine us having a net spend of more than 50 to 60 million pounds. Honestly, I can't see it. I really cannot see it. Especially over the past 2 seasons, when the summer we got Harry Maguire, right? We sold Lukaku for 70 million pounds. The net spend was, I think our net spend was around 40 to 50 million that season. This last summer transfer window, our net spend was around, 30 to 40 or 40 to 45 million, something around that. I can't see us varying from that this summer as well. So be prepared for more frustration if you are a fan looking to get a DM, a right winger, a center back, a striker. It's not happening. Sorry to burst our bubble for that last question, but Mark, do you agree with me?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to spend too. Listen, it's a very, very tough thing out there at the moment, and I really think that lots of clubs are going to struggle. I'm not making excuses, but I think it's a very, very tough time. Everyone knows just how much the economy has been hit, and I think that without fans, it really has hit the clubs. And I think there will be more trades this summer. I think that there will be clubs that are trying to offload players, and there will be trades as opposed to lots of money being spent. Unfortunately, we need 3 or 4 players, and we're not going to get that. I think that we will probably spend more than 60. I think that we will go for a key signing that Ollie wants. I think it's been very, very apparent that Jayden was wanted, and I think actually last night could have done with someone like Jayden over a centre forward. I think the creativity was missing. Bruno wasn't playing, Pogba wasn't there, and I think Jayden would have been that perfect player. So I still think we'll go for him. We might get one more, but I can't see it being any more than 1, and we might sell 1 or 2 still.
Right. I was gonna say to that point. Do you like? Yes, I think we might have that top level, big money signing, but I only think that's happening if we sell Pogba. right? The way, like you mentioned, the way the market is going, the way players, clubs are struggling to generate funds. I can't see Madrid buying Pogba right now. I can't see Barcelona buying Pogba. I can't see Juventus buying. You know what I'm saying? So it's very fascinating. I'll be quick though. John, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I agree with all the comments you both made, really. I think Ollie was sort of prepping us, the fans, and even perhaps potential selling clubs that United are not flush with money like no one is right now. I see the Sancho thing recurring. I think the question regarding Sancho is there's two questions. How good is Amad Diallo? How much does Ollie, believe how good he is? If he is potentially the long right wing answer, we don't need to be, chasing Sancho all summer like we were last year. If he's not sure, and I think he's not, I think Sancho does become the one possible, probable big signing. I would love 3-4 players, but I think at best we'll get one marquee signing, and that would probably be, or the most likely one would be Sancho.
Callum, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so the thing is with that excuse, well, it's not an excuse, I suppose, but yeah, it is a tough time. But the Glazers will still pay them £14 million each in dividends, won't they? So I don't buy that. Use the money to go buy a player for us. We're a football club, or will they funnel it out to go pay Tom Brady's wages instead? It's been a pattern, hasn't it? They get the previous managers get top four, they don't back them, and then the manager gets sacked. Then the following manager gets top four, and then they get sacked. I just hope it doesn't happen to Ollie. It happened last summer. We didn't back Ollie in the summer last year. We scrambled around for signings on deadline day. And, it's sort of, he's half-worked miracles of the fact that we're in second place. And he's just lucky that the players have played for him and he's where he is, because I think every single one of us thought we were going to be battling top four and not in the top four at this current moment in time. So, I hope that they don't carry on this recent policy. I hope they back him. We need a centre-back and a right winger. They are the minimum. So if we do get two players, let's get Sancho and a centre-back, whoever it is, I don't know. But there's no excuses to not go sign two players this summer. There's absolutely none. So
yeah. This is the first time since Ferguson that we've seen, hopefully, back-to-back Champions League qualification. So that could have some sort of bearing on it. I doubt it just because of the pandemic, but this is the first time, so who knows? We don't know what to expect. I don't think they'll reinvest the money with Pogba. But if no one can afford him, he might not go. He might not be able to go, and then we don't need to reinvest. I think the only thing I will say to you, Callum, is a CDM over a centre-back for me. But
no, to that point, everyone has made extremely fair points. The Pogba, I think our summer heavily depends on what we do with Pogba. If he stays and plays another year, I personally can't see us, going over that threshold we've gone in net spend. Again, remember, this is a net spend thing. We could sell Pogba for 75, 80 million and then reinvest that money or whatever. But if we don't sell him, I just can't see us going, spending 80 million pounds on two players. If we were smarter and more shrewd in the market, we could get multiple players for about 60, 65 million. But, our club just unfortunately does not operate that way.
It doesn't have that level of competence up the board. Yeah,
because if you look at some of the signings that, and again, you can just look, it sounds let's take City away, because Pep has made a lot of mistakes, but he can just replace those mistakes with more money, right? I'm not using, but the likes of a Liverpool, the likes of even Everton, the signings they've made that have been shrewd, good business. It's just night and day. But that we're coming up on time. We're already about an hour and 15 minutes. It just always flies by. John, this was your first one. This is how it just flies by, man. It's so quick. It's so much fun. I appreciate the time. Thank you, John. Thank you, Callum. Thank you, Mark, so much. Thank you for everyone in the comments. The comments are still going crazy. It's ridiculous. I wish that we had more time, but it's getting late for these guys.
Just before we go, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Where in the States are you?
So I am 30 minutes outside of DC. I live in Maryland. You know what I'm saying? So not too far away from DC. You know, I frequent DC when, you know, outside is oh wow, yes. Hey, shameless plug, John. Yes, I like that. Make sure to rewind that portion right there and get John's book. But the comments are going crazy.
Oh, Temi, we're not interested in where you live. We're more interested in his book.
Yeah, no, honestly, no, this is funny. But the comments are going crazy. I wish. Hey, Quessy Johnson says, I am in New Jersey. Much love, bro. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Go to YouTube. I see you're on Periscope. Go to youtube.com/allforunited and hit that subscribe button. I think, did we get to 25 likes?
26.
We're at 20. Oh, man, I almost forgot to ask the question. Damn, that would have been really, really bad. I'm trying to think. What was my question? Golly, I forgot it. I know the answer. I know the question. Last season, everyone stay with us. Everyone stay with us. We have one more question. The first 5 people to answer correctly get it. How many times has Oli beaten Pep Guardiola? How many times has Oli beaten Pep Guardiola head to head? I think this is a very simple question, right? If you watch Manchester United and you've watched Oli's full tenure, you know what I'm saying? How many times has Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Joe, if you know the answer, drop it. You know what I'm saying? John Kermode has got it right here. The answer is 3. So John is entered. Joe is entered. You know what I'm saying? Mark Biggs. Oh, Ugly Bear, you got it wrong. I'm so sorry, man. Matt with 3. Fred Woodward with 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Joe always has an Ireland shameless plug for every show. I'm going to start doing a USA or Nigeria shameless plug for every single show I'm on. Happy birthday to the living legend, Landon Donovan, one of my favorite footballers of all time. He turns 39 today. What a player. What an absolute player. One of my favorite players of all time. One of the reasons I love football so much. He gave me so many great moments in the World Cup. So happy 39th birthday to the greatest U.S. soccer player that's ever lived. Christian Pulisic is fast on his trail. Really excited for USA soccer, as we call it over here, and what all the great young players who are playing for Barcelona, Serginho Dest, Weston McKennie, Juventus. It's all because of Landon Donovan. You know what I'm saying? So major shout out to him. Happy birthday, you living legend. That is the end of the show. I wanted to get that shout out of the way. We appreciate you. I'm going to screenshot all of these comments here for whoever answered the first 5 people who answered the question. You're going to get your name answered. But that's it. Thank you so much, guys, for joining the show today. Make sure to retweet this, let your friends know about it, like it, comment, subscribe, and follow all of these wonderful gentlemen on Twitter. I don't know, John. What is John? Yours is J Silk, right? If I'm not mistaken.
At J Silk.
At J Silk. And then you see Callum's at right there. You see Mark's at right there. Make sure to follow all of these good brothers right here. You know what I'm saying? And continue to follow the great wave that is all for United. You know what I'm saying? Unbiased opinions, facts, not crazy talk. You know what I'm saying? Just unbiased, unfiltered opinions. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate y'all, and I will talk to you all very, very shortly. Deuces.